Do you like upsets? Do you like underdogs? Do you like overtime? Sudden death, as they used to call it before cancel culture? You want your son to have the confidence of 1,000 lions, the physique of a Roman statue, and the hands of a 4-time first-team All-American? Listen to this week's episode of Gameday with the greatest to ever cradle the ball, Syracuse head coach Gary Gait. First, we look back this past week starting Saturday, March 22nd.
Army stands at attention as BU steals ours in overtime, 10-9.
Jeremy Hopsicker was hotter than a pot sticker on Saturday. He hit the game winner for Brown in their win over UMass, 8-7.
Vermont Max Fraterolis through Bryant, 16-12. The sophomore had 6.
A shout out from Livy Dunn could make blind men see. For Bucknell, that gets them past Lehigh, 11-10.
Fairfield is still undefeated, 12-11 over Drexel.
McMeekin was McMaking the field tilt Princeton's way against Harvard. Tigers win a classy lax game, 13-11.
Syracuse drank Spalina's mullet elixir before hosting Colgate, 16-12 Orange.
Richmond's win over Georgetown solidifies the A-10 as the superior mid-major over the Big East, 13-12 Spiders.
UMBC is the Grim Reaper of the American East. They take Albany next in overtime, 13-12.
Michigan looked as hot as a pistol, in the words of Joe Beninati. The Wolverines take down the top-ranked Terps in 3 overtimes, 11-10.
The Friars of Providence prayed for St. Joe's to take their long poles, piss missiles, and return to Philly, because they didn't want it, 16-8.
Back-to-back weeks, Towson captures a CAA overtime win, this time over Stony Brook, 13-12.
CJ Curse was put on this earth to score goals, and Yale knew it too, 19-14 Big Red.
Lafayette gets their first ever program victory over Loyola, 11-10, 16 saves for Joe Doherty.
Hayden Summer was Sir Scores a Lot for the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers. They upset Hopkins 11-8.
You know, I wish that I had Jesse's girl, but I'll settle for the freshman. Alex Jesse's overtime game winner to lift Dartmouth over Penn, 9-8.
The Devils went down to Texas, and Denver went home with a W over Duke, 13-6.
Caleb Fyock, 17 saves on Sunday night. My guess is he's the next big personality of the PLL. Hope you get along with RJ Caleb. Ohio State 13, Penn State 9. Welcome back. We are just in the studio shooting the shit, waiting for Gary to pop on the ringer. We all had a pretty eventful weekend. They all looked a little bit different. Mike and I were in New York City, weren't we, Michael?
We were in Manhattan.
That's right, baby.
The city that never sleeps is what they say, right, Dan? We took a 30-man Hobart lacrosse alumni bus to go watch the boys play St. John's in Ridgefield, Connecticut, I believe. Beautiful, beautiful high school, great crowd. And just I highly recommend doing something like that with the fellows. That was an absolute peach of a time, even though the boys didn't get the result they wanted to on the lacrosse field. We did out in New York City, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, we sure did. And
How was that Ridgefield high school field?
it was a high school field. It
Yeah.
wasn't nothing crazy. Public school.
Yep.
Which if you never listened to this before, now you think I'm this prep kid. I don't know. I went to a public school. We all did. We're all gritty, salt of the earth. But yeah, it's a public school. There's a track around it. You're pretty far away from the field. We were field level, standing on a wall. But
Grass or turf?
turf.
Okay.
Turf.
Could have guessed that.
Yeah. I mean, Brett, you were also on a party bus this weekend, weren't you?
Similar story to Hobart, St. Lawrence. I was at Dexter Southfield, beautiful little school tucked away in Chestnut Hill and Mass. Had a bunch of New York alumni. They took the opposite way. They came in to visit us. It was a pleasure seeing them. Just telling these guys, it's so funny when people just can't wait to talk lax with me. It's a great feeling. It enlightens me. It's like the elixir that Dean was talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's nothing like a party bus with your boys. It was bomb.
You put that hat on, you were just the lax plug. Yeah. It was a fun weekend of lacrosse and upset universe. I mean, there's so much that happened. It's going to be impossible to cover. This is a game day show. We look forward, so we're not going to look back too much, but we could talk a long time about what happened across the board. I mean, starting with Michigan upsetting Maryland, staying in the Big Ten, you got Rutgers taking down Hopkins. I mean, I could go on and on here, but what were you guys most surprised by over the weekend?
I mean, I think the one you mentioned, Rutgers beating Hopkins, just did not see that one coming at all. Rutgers has been struggling a little bit this season. They have the guys, and I think they have the roster to beat a lot of good teams, but the way they've been playing, did not see them beating Hopkins the way that they did. You know, a couple others, Denver beating Duke, really steamrolling Duke, and they threw a zone at them, just out-physicaled them and played better in almost all facets of the game. So that was good to see Denver get a good win against a pretty hot Duke team. Army losing to BU.
Army.
Yeah.
I mean, Dan, Maryland -7. Lock, dude.
So much so I put my
Like,
skin,
I mean,
skin on the line.
I thought it was a great pick. I mean, even if they covered, like Michigan covered and didn't win, I would still be surprised. And they beat them in triple overtime. Like, that's just crazy.
Yeah, if you're first time listening, so that was my step down pick last week. So I will feature it in the episode. But yeah, I took 2 point blank shots from Hayden and Brett here from 15 yards with my shirt off in the back in our driveway in the rain because that was my step down pick. That was my lock, and that was the consequence I paid. But my thought was, if you fast forward from Big Ten play last year to this year, you remove everything else that's happened, the tournament, the regular season, the off season, whatever. If you see a Maryland 7-goal favorite against Michigan, you're thinking Michigan spread. So I'm just forgetting that it all changes once you're back in conference. Just going across a few more of these scores because it was a crazy weekend. Bucknell beats Lehigh. Brown beats UMass. Vermont beats Bryant. None of us saw that coming. Richmond finally gets it done over Georgetown. Fairfield barely squeaks by against Drexel. Just, I don't know. I could keep going here. Seriously.
Another one, Dartmouth beating Penn.
Yep.
Not a huge upset in the rankings, but first time since 2005 that Dartmouth has beaten Penn, and Sean Kerwin's first Ivy League win. So, good to see that something's brewing for the Big Green up in New Hampshire.
Yep. And then UMBC beating Albany. I don't think we've talked about UMBC at all this season. I couldn't name one player on that team. Hey, maybe you could, but
yeah, maybe. Also, Lafayette beating Loyola for the first time in program history.
Thank you.
A lot of firsts for some of these programs that have been taking the right steps in the right direction for the last couple of years. It's good to see some of the fruits of their labor paying off.
And then Navy beating Holy Cross in overtime.
Among those, more than half of them were conference games, whether it was the Big East, the Patriot League, the Big Ten. Conference play is starting to kick off, and I think that's going to be a theme of this episode, looking ahead to next week and the weeks beyond that. Anything can happen in conference play. It's like a new season. There's just so many things that can happen. We've seen it in years past where the Patriot League is an absolute gauntlet. I think we're going to see that the Big Ten is going to be a gauntlet. The Big East is always competitive. Who knows what's going to happen with the ACC? There's just so much up in the air and so much we know about these teams, but also so much we don't know.
That's right. Well, can't wait. But first, let's get to the legend, why you're all listening, to be quite honest. Head coach Gary Gait.
Do you mind if I just tell the story about how this happened? I was in the Salt Lake City airport. I was getting my skis, and I saw one handsome, strapping gentleman in a beard walk by me. I knew that was Owen Hiltz because he had a Syracuse logo on his chest. I saw the rest of the team walk in, and then, of course, I knew that Gary Gait was going to walk through. So my knees were shaking, couldn't see straight. Walked over. It was the biggest elevator pitch of my life. He's like, follow up with me, shoot me an email, and here we are.
His son is also a listener and shot me a text. So it's just...
Which was one of my grabbers.
Yeah. Hey, sales.
Always be
Excited.
closing.
ABC.
ABC people.
Mike, I'm sorry, bro.
Mike,
You're a closer.
ABC.
Let's get into it. Coach, thanks so much for joining the show. I really appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
We just caught up a little bit. Great to get to know you a little bit off camera. We've seen just about everything. All the games, the highlights, photos of some highly questionable pregame outfits worn by your men.
I laughed at some of those too.
It's a great introduction to Gameday. It's an interesting group of cats you got. You coach guys who everyone has heard of and are borderline famous. And I think all of us, we played with a bunch of lax rats. So I think just the personalities you have on the team, it'd be cool to know what it's like just in the locker room and in areas that we don't see.
Obviously, this is my fourth year coaching the men's program at Syracuse. And, I got hired as the coach with the idea of trying to bring them back to the glory of national championship caliber lacrosse. And it's been fun. And I was very lucky that Pat March, associate head coach and offensive coordinator, had been hired a couple years before, and he was brought in to rejuvenate the recruiting process for the Syracuse Orange. So that's what we needed the most, is someone to get out there, find these top kids and get them to our program again. When I took over, it was a unique team that had many of the non-traditional area starters, top teams around the country. Most of them have those players, but they're not necessarily the core of the team. You might have an attackman, a midi, or a couple defenders, something like that. We need to get back in the battle of Long Island, Northeast. I thought it was important to actually try and recruit Canada again
Yep.
and, try and build a team that can compete for national championships. Having been the Canadian U19-20 coach 3 different occasions, I recommended many kids to the coaches of Syracuse, and unfortunately, they didn't take any of them, and many have gone on to become Hall of Famers. So
Wow.
I thought it was.
You mind naming a couple? You got in your back pocket?
There's a bunch. I don't really want to go down that road. They missed on him and him and him. But a lot of guys, some of them still playing today. A guy like Kevin Crowley, that type of player.
Yeah, a lot of Canadians grow up playing indoor, and you don't see them on the field as often as some these kids from the hotbed areas where they're playing field lacrosse growing up. What's the difference there in recruiting those guys?
The hard part that I find about the Canadians is they tend to develop the field game a little bit later. Like if you go watch a Canadian play field at 10th grade, they might not stand out, but all of a sudden they get into college and they explode and become these amazing players. And that's kind of the trick, is figuring out which ones are going to develop. And it's not easy, but they're trying to find the best ones to bring to Syracuse. Definitely. We may have the most championships, but it's been the longest amount of time, 2009, since we've won.
Yeah.
So that certainly has made it difficult to recruit against these teams that, say, hey, come here. You got, we're going to win a championship. You're part of it.
Yep.
So I'm kind of touting, we are going to win a national championship, but we need you to come help us do it.
When you're going to recruit these kids, because I'd have to assume the guys are looking at, the Marylands, the Hopkins, all the blue blood schools. Why are they choosing Syracuse ultimately?
Some do, some don't. That's the way recruiting works. We try and understand the kid we're looking at. And if they're looking at Ivy schools, we kind of don't spend a lot of time with them.
Hmm.
9 times out of 10, they're going to go to an Ivy school if they're really good. I definitely head up against Carolina, a little bit of Virginia in the ACC. Big Ten, we cross over a little bit, between a bunch of the schools. Everybody's trying to pitch their future success. And we got a great mentoring program. And most of all of those programs are talking about, your future's bright. Come here and play lacrosse and you'll be set for life. And we are elevating our offerings every single year at Syracuse. It kind of just used to be you went to Syracuse if you were a laxer and you weren't really worried about, becoming a finance person or a high-end business, commercial real estate. We are doing a much better job now of cultivating our alums and getting them back involved with the program so they can help us win the recruiting battle with the talent that wants that type of experience out of Syracuse.
When you're trying to bring in this talent, I feel like among maybe the Scott Mars of the world, just grab this creativity and this flow, right? As coaches, we're always like, play free, right? When you come to Syracuse, they play free. They play creative. How do you pitch that at them and say, hey, when you come here, you can play the style that you want to play, and we're all going to indulge in it in the JMA Dome?
Yeah, and that's understood. If you watch our offense, we play very disciplined, structured lacrosse. Like Coach March does an unbelievable job. His true expertise is dissecting defenses. And if you cut here, you're going to be open. You're going to be open for a tap in, this outside shot, your first look, your second look, your third look. So these guys understand what they're up against. You work within a structure, but you have the freedom to, throw behind the backs or no look passes or take it to shot. And you're not getting yelled at. You're actually coached how to do it better. You got to, throw a little deception. Why don't you throw it no look behind the back here when the guy's wide open? It's just how we make the passes, how we take the shots.
Yep.
We try and get every little edge that we can out of the talent we have and allow them to have fun with it.
It's very much so. Discipline equals freedom.
Yep.
You know,
Oh my God.
when I was at Union College, we actually were fortunate enough to do a tour of the Syracuse facilities. We were playing a game in the Dome against Middlebury over spring break. And before the game, you know, we had a full tour of the locker room and all the facilities you have up there. And, you know, the space you guys had and the resources was next level. How much of that has changed now from since when you played there? Is it a completely different ball game?
It's the same. It's just kind of grown up a lot. Like when I played back in the day, my senior year, we averaged 11,000 people a game. That was one of my missions was to get our attendance back up to that. I think we'll be up over 5,000 this year. When I got in, we were just about 4,000 average per game, which is still the most in the country by a mile. We're trying to bring that excitement back. So the dome has totally been updated. New seats, no more bleachers,
Yep.
colorful, the video boards. It's an NFL experience. Videos about the players, you get to learn a little bit about the players. It's like you're at a pro sports game when you're at one of our lacrosse games. I think it's awesome. I really enjoy what they do and how they do it. There's no place that really highlights the player like Syracuse does. And when I was there, we shared a locker room with soccer, track and field, and it was a bench and about an 8-inch metal locker. And we all sat just on a bench and whatever. And I think we took over that locker room and two others to build the men's lacrosse locker room.
I mean, you couldn't
And
stop winning national championships though when that was your locker room.
it didn't really matter. We also didn't really have a full indoor practice facility. We either practiced on less than half of the dome when it was minus 20, or we went outside on an old turf in the cold like everybody else, like in Hobart used to do, you know? Um,
Still do. Yep.
well, you got the bubble at least.
We talk about stadiums and facilities way too much on this show.
Yeah,
We probably don't focus on what we should.
we've increased the alumni and fan opportunities at the Dome, and we have a field level lounge that we open up for the big games. And it's at the entrance where the players run out on the field. If you come to our Notre Dame game next weekend, that'll be open. And we invite our donors and our fans and alumni to come out on the field before every game, hang out, watch the warm up, that sort of thing. There's smoke and lights when the players are introduced, just like in a football game. So we've upgraded that whole experience for everybody as well. The next thing I'm doing is I'm remodeling the locker room this summer, and I got
Oh my
lots of
God.
crazy ideas. Um,
We'll weigh in.
Are you guys putting a
Send us
pool in
your
there
concepts.
or something? Getting a full
you
hot tub
know,
in there or what?
well, I don't think they'll let us do that, but I think we'll have a sauna. I
Oh
gotta have a
yeah.
sauna.
Big. That's big.
I'm working, I'm pretty sure golf simulator.
Oh
No,
my
wow.
Oh,
God.
gotta have a golf simulator.
Why would you leave the locker room?
The only way I can pull that off is I'm building a space for photo shoots. So it just happens where you want to take photo shoots is about the same
There
size
you
as a
go.
golf simulator. So I'm like, we're all in. We got lots of guys
Uh,
that love to play golf, and you get free golf at Syracuse when you're a student.
Wow.
So they need to be able to practice in the winter. So we got to get the simulator up and going.
Coach, I think you're going to use that quite a bit. I was with Henry Mann over the weekend. Said you guys went on a
Yeah,
golf trip, but he says you got a pretty good swing.
I could use some practice. It's one thing I don't do. So it would help my game for sure.
Where are your other kind of favorite atmospheres or stadiums to either play or coach aside from the Carrier Dome or the JMA Dome? I assume that's number one.
I went to Utah and that was just spectacular. Like
Yeah.
just walking into the stadium. Unfortunately, down on the field level, you can't see the mountains.
Really?
But if you go up in the stands, you can. So I never made it up into the stands, but everybody was talking about how beautiful it was, looking at the snow-capped mountains all around you. When you're outside, it was spectacular. It reminds me of home a lot. Just beautiful scenery. So that
Yeah.
was really fun to play in.
Mhm.
We had a pretty good crowd, about 3,500, 3,700, something like that. So
Mhm.
that was awesome. Probably of the ACC, Virginia and Notre Dame are probably the only two that even come close.
Hmm.
Carolina's kind of doesn't really get that great of a crowd. Duke really doesn't get that great of a crowd. So it's not, facilities. You're playing on soccer fields
Right.
mostly.
Mm.
Virginia you are, but it's bigger stands and you can sit around on the other side. And Notre Dame, the lacrosse facility, it's awesome because it doesn't hold very many people, so it's packed. When they get 4,000 people, it's jammed. So we always tell recruits that our average attendance doesn't fit in any other ACC stadium. That's one of our go-to lines.
That is a great selling point.
Yeah.
No, that's going to be unbelievable for your players. Just all those facilities, the locker room, the field level box. That's next level stuff. And
It's just, for me, it's about the little details. Like everything makes a difference. And you don't know which little detail is going to make a kid excited. Facilities is one part, what you can offer them in the future, another, and the education they're going to get, and then obviously the lacrosse. The opportunity to play a fun style of lacrosse at the highest level.
so we'll switch gears again.
Okay.
We all grew up stringing sticks. At least I did, and Brett did myself. We still do. Have always been, very into lacrosse gear and all that.
Gearheads.
So I just wanted
Yep.
to kind of talk quick about Gait Lacrosse, your role. Obviously, you guys kind of had a rebranding a few years ago.
I could give you a quick history. My brother and I, while we were in college, started working for SDX Lacrosse back in 1990 when our eligibility was up. Paul left about 4 or 5 years into it. I went to work for a company called De Beer Lacrosse.
Yep.
He worked his way up and really got involved. He also owned a Gait Brothers Lacrosse retail store, which he sold because his true passion was the designing lacrosse products. In college, probably our biggest invention that no one really knows about is we were the first people to ever have a split finger glove. They would bend easier just by simply cutting them, and then we would insert some extra plastic inside, and then you'd have way more flexible, more protective gloves. And
That's a history
that
lesson for me.
along, yeah, some other things like the first ever shoulder pads, arm guards that actually fit together and could come apart and you could piece together shoulder pads. That was my brother Paul who kind of invented that. Probably the next big one was the modern helmet. The company is now called Cascade, but it's called Sport Helmet. And I can explain why the company's called Cascade. Do you guys know why?
No.
It's called Cascade because Sport Helmet produced the old bubble box helmets you had to tie at the back, the field helmets. And they also made whitewater rafting helmets. And their whitewater rafting helmet was called the Cascade helmet. And
Wow.
my brother walks in and the warehouse and production is here in Syracuse. And he was living here after college and he walked in and he said, "How about this helmet?" And he picked up the whitewater rafting one piece and he put new insides in it and he put a box face mask on it and he went up to Canada for a summer and played with it. And I'm like, that's the ugliest thing I've ever seen. Like, how are you wearing that? And he's like, it's so comfortable. He's like, well, let's put a visor on it and try it for field. And boom, he did it. Syracuse said, we'll wear them. And born was the modern lacrosse helmet.
That's awesome.
That is amazing.
So that's one of many, but that was funny. So quickly to get back, so I worked for SDX Lacrosse for 30 years. Paul left, worked for De Beer, and he made a women's stick for De Beer. It ended up being the number one women's stick for a number of years, called the Apex. I coached at the University of Maryland. Even though I worked for SDX, his stick was better than ours. And all of a sudden, I got a call, and Paul called me and said, "Guess what? I sold my name to De Beer for our men's brand." And I'm like, That's my name too.
It's a pretty big name.
I'm like, what are you doing?
I was gonna say he's making a lot of decisions, Gary.
So that's the funny part. Paul just said, forget trying to come up with these names. I'm just going to call mine Gait. And I'm like, oh. So he killed me. So he retired young. I kept playing for another 10 or 12 years after he retired. And every time we'd win a championship or I'd get MVP, he'd call me and just thank me. And I go, I don't work for you. I don't work for you. Yeah, but the people don't know that. He left the beer and started his own company. So when Paul left the beer, which was bought by Rawlings and King, uh, he did a licensing deal with Under Armour. So he made all the Under Armour lacrosse stuff. That was actually his company. He called me up and he said, "Hey Gary, I'm getting the Gate name back from the beer and Rawlings. I think we do a lot better when we work together. Do you want to come work with me?" And I said, absolutely, hell yeah, I'm in. I wasn't really doing much on the men's side. And I said, well, you know what? I love making stuff too. SDX really doesn't let me do anything. So I was frustrated. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go work with my brother. I sucked it up for 2 years and finished my contract, finished a full 30, and then and partnered with my brother after that. We had a blast. We launched just before COVID, and it was actually perfect for us because I got time off. So the two of us got in the lab and we made a bunch of sticks. We changed the whole model for lacrosse equipment company, and they allowed mesh in the women's game, and he challenged me to come up with a new mesh that's better than a piece of mesh. Different mesh pockets that, different size triangles, all this stuff. And then I said, you know what? I'm just going to try making one. I ended up getting it, and it freaking worked, and it was awesome. And
when you're hitting the wall or you're playing catch, you ever pick up a girl stick anymore?
oh yeah, when I'm testing product all the time, I always have Syracuse players are asking me to string their sticks. Can you do this? Can you do that? I'm like, sure. I love the women's game. It's done a lot for me, so I certainly don't look down on it or think it's not worthy. But I now that I'm coaching men, I'm like, let's go, let's get something.
Right.
So again, he challenged me to come up with something for the D. And obviously, I don't know if you're familiar with our first D head, but
the can opener head, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
yeah, of course it got banned, and we knew it would. But we're getting there. We just signed a deal with the PLL to become a partner there, so we're jumping all in.
Awesome.
We got some great new products. I just did a concept elbow pad today. Brought it to my team when I was there, Paul, last night. We were kind of tweaking an idea how to make a new arm pad, and we got it pretty much done. And I got on a sewing machine and we made a sample.
Okay.
And I had the guys trying it on for sizing today, and the feedback was great. So that I love to be able to have a team to test product on. We got some
you.
Yeah,
we got
send some stuff. Go ahead.
we absolutely we got some great stuff coming out from our throatless face-off head, which just launched. We got a new concept in gloves that I think is going to be ridiculous. We got a new goalie head that's ridiculous. We just don't know if it's going to work. It's very unique. We're just hoping it works.
It's not the plane, it's the pilot. And if you want to send us some stuff, we will beat the shit out of each other with your sticks, and I'll test it out. And that would be that'd be a privilege.
We are very in the market for partnerships.
That is like unbelievable to hear. I think we could sit here and talk for another 3 hours about the process of making prototypes and all that.
Oh my God, yeah.
Do you string any of the players on the men's team sticks?
So I'm a guy that's never played with a mesh stick, and I played till pro lacrosse till a month away from 44, and I used traditional. So I was not. I'm still learning. If you come to practice right now, I'm using a men's flex mesh pocket that I've just been testing and tweaking. We got some professional stringers on the team that do a pretty good job.
That's awesome. Yeah, we had John Sexton on the show earlier this season, who was one of the last users of traditional at the highest level, and I hope it comes back because it's beautiful. And we got a partnership with a local friend who's stringing traditionals, second generation stringer. So we love it.
Yep.
We want to see as much as possible of it. It's getting late, and I know you got a national championship to go chase down. Starting with Virginia next week.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it would be great just to get. It doesn't have to be long, but whatever. I think like going from out of conference back in conference. Now you're playing against a bunch of ACC teams. Obviously, you got Cornell mixed in there, but it almost feels like at this point in the year, it's like a second season that's starting. I don't know if you guys see it the same way.
We saved the best for last, as you say, right? We got number one Cornell, followed by all the ACC teams. So there's four of our five teams are ahead of us in the RPI right now. The path is there to go out there, win a few games, and put ourselves in a position to make a run in the playoffs. But we got to take care of this. Like you said, it's almost like a second season. We had a bit of a break kind of midway through the year. We had a weekend off during spring break. And so I gave the kids a couple of days off and said, take a mental break because the second half of the season's a lot harder than the first half, and we need you dialed in. We need you ready. So the guys are pretty focused right now and pretty happy with their attitude and the way they're approaching this last 5 games of the season for us. So I'm pretty excited about it. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
we're gonna be
Virginia's
watching it for sure.
obviously they just haven't found their chemistry yet, but they're getting better. They got plenty of talent. So I know they can beat anybody if they put it all together. So our job here is to make sure that we make it tough on them to find chemistry and find the way to score goals or get stops. So we'll try and take advantage of their weaknesses right now.
Well, we're going to be watching every second of it, and we can't wait, especially this weekend against Virginia when it kind of all starts in the ACC. It must be a lot to continue building a lacrosse manufacturing empire as well as chasing down a national championship. So I can't thank you enough for joining. Such a cool opportunity for us.
Lots of old stories and rules and all sorts of fun stuff. But I'm a laxer at heart and love the game. And I've actually had fun being on you guys are definitely laxers. I love it.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. That means a lot. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you guys. And hopefully you get me back on one day, maybe next year at the end, something like that.
100%. Thanks
guys,
so much.
good luck.
Take care.
Take it easy, coach.
Thanks.
Thanks, Coach.
Water guns, that's a birthday party. That's a birthday party thing. A nail gun.
Children.
A nail gun puts a nail in something and it stays there for 30 years. And it does and it keeps it there. And these nail guns are keeping their programs on top. Thanks to Coach Gait for that interview. We're going to talk about last week and who our nail gun was. Michael, that's your responsibility, so I'll hand it to you. But before I do, we need to talk about liquor. And Brett, you're going to do that for us.
Looking for a smooth craft spirit that stands out? Bully Boy Distillers has you covered. From bold bourbons, crisp gin, every bottle is made with passion right here in Boston. Whether you're mixing it up in cocktails, sipping it straight, Bully Boy delivers every time. Grab a bottle or visit bullyboydistillers.com.
Michael, who's the gun?
Thanks, Dan. The gun is we're going back to the defensive side of the ball here. And I have to give a shout out as well. I know you guys know I coach at Roxbury High School in New Jersey. I don't know if I told you boys this, but the defense, when we break huddles, we call ourselves the nail guns. We call the paint, we call it Home Depot. Just a bunch of nail guns putting people in the dirt. So we're raising them young, man. We're raising them young for college and for life. To be a nail gun for life, Yep. So, but I'm going with someone today who's the anchor for his defense. For someone who's the major reason his team's one of the hottest in all of college lacrosse. They haven't lost since week 1. He has one of the great nicknames of all time. He's up there with Matty Ice. He's up there with the Motor City Hitman. I'm talking about Big Tasty, of course. Excellent nickname. Caleb Fyack, sophomore goalie at The Ohio State University. I hope everyone had a chance to watch that Sunday night game. Ohio State, Penn State, prime time. Ohio State goes in a Panzer Field at Penn State in front of us in somewhat 2,195 was what they said was the crowd was. I think it was more. It was electric. They win 13-9, stun Penn State at home. And Big Tasty had a huge hand in that. He won the goalie battle against Francione Penn State.
It was
He had
also
17 saves.
Yeah.
Who was a stud? Season high for Fyack. They let up 9 goals as a defense. From watching, I saw at least 2 that were rebounds off of saves from Fyack. Could have been less. But he's electric in cage. When he's hot, Ohio State can beat anyone on any stage. I'm very confident in that. Congrats, Caleb Feig.
That's a great call, Mike. Ohio State playing very surprising ball right now, surprising all of us. And I think he's well deserving of the nail gun of the week. And it's came to my attention how annoying the Inside Lacrosse player of the week is. Every week they post this thing and they say, who's the player of the week? And they give like 4 options. And then all these kids on Instagram would probably follow us to say, oh, it's Sam King, DJ Kurtz. No, it's gotta be Spolina. And who cares, man? Who cares? Who's the player of the week? Tell us and move on. And we don't have that award here. We have the nail gun of the week, and it's very different. It's a completely different award. A nail gun and a player of the week are 2 different things. You can be a player of the week all day long. You just got to ball out. To be a nail gun takes years of courage, sacrifice, and a whole lot of something else that I don't know because I'm not a nail gun yet. But thank you, Mike. Caleb Feig, nail gun of the week.
I would agree with you. Being the player of the week, you just got to fill up a stat sheet.
Right.
Being a nail gun of the week, you got to fill up the stat sheet in some capacity, but you also got to do a whole lot more.
Right.
And, that's who our nail guns of the week are. Because our nail guns don't care about the stat sheet. They care about one stat, and it's winning.
They don't give a shit about the stat sheet. They care about their teammates, their program, and yeah. There are some other stories we want to make sure we cover our All Guts section.
All guts, no glory.
All Guts, no glory. Who we got? Now our All Guts, no glory section. A lot of games to go through. Last week, 7-9, and that's expected with the upsets that we all witnessed. It's not great there. Overall, we're 57-42 in our All Guts games. We're in the green, but still, lacrosse has been crazy this year. You guys know the drill. Mike, Hayden, you guys each have 2 timeouts. Brett and I are going to go through the games here starting Friday, March 28th. Bucknell at Lafayette, both coming off huge wins. Bucknell getting past Lehigh. Lafayette with their first ever program win over Loyola. Lafayette, 1.5 goal favorite in this game. Cruz taking Lafayette. And then we move on to Saturday. A ton of good games. March 29th, starting with UMBC at Bryant. UMBC, huge win last week. Bryant, tough loss, but the Bulldogs are a 1.5 favorite. We're taking Bryant in this one.
Next, we have Penn at Cornell. Cornell is a 5.5 goal favorite. We're taking Cornell on this. Next is Princeton traveling to Dartmouth. Princeton, 4.5 goal favorites. We have the Tigers.
Big CAA matchup. Hofstra is trying to get back to the top of the CAA. Very possible. Delaware, 3 goal favorites at Hofstra. Crew is going to take the Dutchman in this one. Then Towson, 3.5 goal favorites at Drexel. Another CAA matchup. Crew's taking Towson.
Next, we have Providence traveling to Georgetown. Georgetown, 5.5 goal favorites here. Collectively, we have Georgetown in this game. Next, we have St. John's.
Timeout. Sorry about that.
Wake up, huh?
He's lagging.
Wake up.
You flowed right through it. Providence at Georgetown, Big East game. Georgetown's coming off, a tough loss to Richmond, and Providence has kind of slowed down since the start of the season. But, as we've seen, these conference games, you have no idea what's going to happen. Providence has the roster to give Georgetown a game, potentially even win. So I like Providence covering here. I think, you just don't know what's going to happen in Big East play.
Last time they played overtime.
Next, we have St. John's going to Marquette. Marquette is a 3 goal favorite there. We have St. John's taking this one home.
UMass at St. Joe's. Mike's going to call a timeout here. I guarantee it. This is a borderline game of the week. UMass dropped one to Brown last week. Probably would have been a game of the week if they did not. He's got the symbol up. He's ready to go here. UMass at St. Joe's. We don't have a spread because we live in restricting areas. Crew's taking St. Joe's. Mike, take it away.
The A10 is so back. The A10 is so back. It is the best mid-major conference in all the land. I don't care what you say. It is. The proof is in the pudding. So this game is going to be a fun one to watch. Both teams have cracked the top 20. They've proven that they can replace players. They both lost their entire attack, UMass and St. Joe's, and they have guys all over the field. Fun one to watch.
Then we got Hopkins, 1.5 favorite at Michigan. Michigan, these teams had 2 very different weeks last week. Hopkins, tough loss to Rutgers. Michigan, shocking the world and our ancestors by beating Michigan. Hopkins, 1.5 favorite. Crew is taking Hopkins in this game.
Next, we have Rutgers traveling to Ohio State. 2 big wins from 2 rising teams, I would say. Ohio State, 4.5 goal favorite there.
Timeout. So another Big Ten conference game. Rutgers coming off a huge win against Hopkins. Ohio State up to number 3 in the country. I like Rutgers playing spoiler here. If not winning, keeping it very close. I think they have the tools, especially at the face-off X in Pilato and Card and Stoller in net. I think for Ohio State, they're hot as they've ever been right now, which is good for them. But I also know that they don't have the experience in defending, the position that they're in. So, hopefully Ohio State doesn't take this as a trap game. But the way that Rutgers beat Hopkins showed me a lot and what they're capable of. So I like Rutgers keeping this one close and possibly even playing spoiler for the second week in a row.
Yep, and Hayden was the only guy on Rutgers wagon for this one. We had 3-1 Ohio State, so we have Ohio State in that. Next, we have Syracuse, 3-goal favorites at Virginia. ACC matchup, we have Cuse in this one.
Timeout.
Yep, take it away.
Just an ACC clash at a great venue. I think we already talked about it with Gary. UVA, and he mentioned it. UVA is a good team with good players. They just haven't figured out the chemistry yet. Maybe they can do it this week against a good Cuse team. This one will be fun to watch, as it always is year in, year out.
3 more games on Saturday. This one is a Patriot League matchup. Navy at Colgate. Colgate's a 3.5 goal favorite. And this one, Crew's taking Colgate. Brown at Yale. I like this game a lot. Yale's a 2.5 goal favorite at home in New Haven. Crew's taking Yale in this game. Villanova at Denver. Some Big East play. Denver's a 3.5 goal favorite at home here. Crew's taking the West Coast Pios.
Next, we have Albany traveling to Cornell. We're taking Cornell again. Next, we have Lehigh going to Princeton, and we have the Tigers again.
No surprise in either of those matchups. And both those games are on Sunday. Let's get to our next segment. We are pushing the field here. We're playing fast, like Brown in 2015. Let's go. We're very lucky, to say the very least. These are our games of the week. We have 3 games of the week. Our games of the week. We're just fired up to present to you our games of the week. Let's talk about traditional sticks, because Gary loves them, and so do we. So does John Sexton. So does the Ondo family, and so does EMAS Strings.
Up until Gary was in his mid-40s playing pro, he had never touched a mesh pocket. If you're that guy, you're serious about having a sick coaching spoon, or you want a relic that could hang above your desk when you're having clients in town, you need something to hold on to while you're doing business, hit up EMAS Strings. Lucas Ondo of EMAS Strings, he's a go-to for traditional stringing, crafted with precision, a second-generation wisdom from his old man who strung pockets for pros. Lucas has succeeded him in doing the same thing. Unmatched quality, the pockets are the best. Follow him at this tag up here at EMAS Strings on Instagram, DM CLG if you place an order, and you'll get $10 off. Thanks, Lucas. Go check him out.
It's a good deal. Games of the week, 3 of them. They're all at noon. Trying to mix up some conferences here. This one's an out-of-conference game. UNC, goal and a half favorite at Army. Saturday at noon on ESPN+. We're talking venues earlier. Unfortunately, Army, it's under construction. It's a great place to play a lacrosse game, but, you got forklifts in the background, which isn't as scenic as maybe the JMA Dome or the UNC field. But this is a great, great, great lacrosse game. Army, we thought so highly of them last week, and I've said it on air, I don't think them playing lesser opponents is going to impact them once they step up to the plate, and it did. Last week, it certainly did. Mike, start talking about that upset and your thoughts from last week's loss to BU.
I mean, just a complete shocker to everybody. No one thought Army was losing to BU. And I think just the bigger point here is what a hard bounce back, right? You lose a game in conference, that sucks. It's competitive. But then you go out of conference to go play UNC the next week after a game you should have won. That's just tough. That's tough for Army, but they're a good team. So is UNC. But I would say the other 2 things to look out from this game is UNC's ride. Something I've noticed about them is that they have just an aggressive 10-man. They use their athleticism, and they make it really hard for teams to get the ball from one side of the field to the other when they need to.
BU runs a 10-man too, which is interesting.
That's a great point. It's a great point. That's something to watch in this game, and I bet UNC's is a better 10-man. Just going to assume that.
That's bold.
But a matchup as well, as always, our boy AJ Pilot, however you say his last name. I prefer Pilot. He'll be on Owen Duffy for sure, who has 23 goals and 13 assists on the year. He's an elite attackman, and it's an elite defender, and I think AJ Pilot hasn't really been in the spotlight yet, so that'll be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, great offense versus defensive matchup. UNC's electric offense. Army's just got a stout defense with Sean Byrne and net, who is an absolute stud, topping the charts in save percentage per game. So this is going to be a great one. I think for Army, the big thing here is if they lose this game, they are probably out of the conversation for an at-large bid for the NCAA tournament. If they win this game, I think they're strength of schedule will be enough to get them into the NCAA tournament, assuming they don't win the Patriot League. But this is kind of a do or die for at-large hopes for Army. So, we can expect them to come into this game ready to go. For UNC, it's a little bit different. They play a little tougher strength of schedule. So, win here would be huge, obviously. But if they don't, they might still have the strength of schedule and RPI to get into the tournament.
Completely agree. An Army learned the hard way last year with the at-large stuff. Next game of the week, Penn State at Maryland. Maryland 2.5 goal favorite in this one. Saturday at noon on Big Ten Network. So if you have BTN Plus, sorry, you need Big Ten Network. We switched to YouTube TV. Canceled our Xfinity bill. Switched to YouTube TV for this game, for ESPNU, for the necessities down the stretch here in the spring. Great game here. Penn State at Maryland. Maryland's lost last week. Who cares? This is still a great game that we've been looking forward to ever since we said at the early parts of the season.
Yep, it was a strategic move by the satellite to switch to YouTube TV.
Yep.
Just makes everything a little bit easier.
I had every upsell opportunity from Xfinity they could throw at me. And I was like, nope. No lax. You're out.
We'll do it ourselves.
Hash them.
This is an interesting game. I think if you ask me right now who the most complete team in the country is, I would say Maryland. That loss to Michigan last week, it's just kind of a fluky loss by Maryland there. Triple overtime. Maybe they just didn't show up, or maybe Michigan just played as well as they could have. The thing with this matchup is that I think these two teams are very similar. Neither team really has a true superstar. Obviously, both teams have great players, but I think on the offensive side of the ball, the depth that each one of these teams carries is kind of the story of their season thus far. I really think, if you strip these guys down and put them in the same jerseys, or just took the logos off their chest, they would look very similar to each other. Dan's looking at me here.
I mean, you said strip them down.
Okay, it's not what I meant. I meant
jock straps.
I mean, put them in their pads. Let's say no jerseys are involved, right? You
Sure.
just take all the decals off their helmet, right? You can't tell which team they play for.
They look like an STX commercial.
Yeah, right. Or like
shoulder pads going full steam.
Yeah, or like a Dick's ad or something.
Yes.
Yeah. I think if that was the case, these teams would look very similar, right? Big guys, skilled guys, physical, obviously very talented, but there wouldn't be one guy that I think really stands out. You're like, whoa, he's different from the rest. One guy I really like for Penn State is Hunter Aquino, freshman, number 23 midfielder. In that Ohio State game, he kind of stood out to me. I couldn't believe he was a freshman. I'm just big, fluid midfielder, dodges hard, has a great stick. But I'm excited to watch this game. Again, going to be a great broadcast. Big Ten matchup. You can't ask for much more here.
Next game of the week, the last one, Duke at Notre Dame. Notre Dame's a 3.5 goal favorite in this one, so it's at Arlotta. The place is going to look packed. Hill's going to be packed. Fans all around. Saturday, 12 p.m., ESPNU. Mike, the ACC is back, Jamark?
The ACC back. The A10's back. Life's good, man. Life's good, right? I mean, the ACC is just, it's so competitive. It has some of the best lacrosse venues that exist in all of college lacrosse. There's fans at every game. It's all there's no AQ. You got to win every game to try and make the playoffs. It's everything. It's playoff starting now. The ACC, once the ACC starts, it's playoff time because it's all RPI. It's these. You get 2-3 games wins in the ACC. You got a pretty good chance of making the tournament. If you're under it, you're probably not going to make it. So it's one of those games, and it's Duke Notre Dame. It's Duke Notre Dame. One matchup that I like in this game is Sean Light, an obvious Schmeiser candidate on Notre Dame. He'll be on Eric Maliver of Duke, the transfer from Maryland, and that'll be a good matchup to keep an eye on.
Also, Eric Maliver, front of the program.
Yep, that's right.
Great kid.
Mike, I would agree with you here. Duke suffered an unfortunate loss. Notre Dame, maybe isn't who we thought they were at the beginning of the season, but at the end of the day, two very talented teams that are both national championship contenders, Notre Dame more so than Duke, but you said it, ACC lacrosse, this is going to be can't miss television. I think we should also highlight the Syracuse Virginia game, another ACC matchup. Coach Gait talked about a little bit. Mentioned that Virginia hasn't been able to find its chemistry yet this year, but they are capable of beating anybody. That is going to be just a great game. Star-studded plays, star-studded players, just everything that lacrosse is about. So just wanted to mention that one too quickly. And I'm taking Syracuse in that one.
Let's take our picks for the games of the week. UNC at Army. We'll go clockwise, starting with Michael.
UNC.
Army.
UNC.
Army. Penn State at Maryland. Michael.
Maryland.
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 Maryland. Duke at Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
Duke.
Duke. Give me Duke. Give me the Blue Devils.
Why not?
My son's committed to Duke. My son's going to Duke. My son's committed to Duke. Hey, Mike, what was your step-down pick last week?
It was Bryant -1.5.
Ooh.
What was the score of the game?
Bryant lost to Vermont 16-12. Dan, what was your step-down pick last week?
John Tillman's Maryland -7 against Michigan.
And what was the final score, Dan?
Michigan in 3 overtimes.
The boys face the music.
We sure did. Brett got me in the butt cheek. Hayden got me right under the undercarriage. You were 2 inches away from taking away
Some permanent damage, maybe.
yeah.
It was all fun and games. Just a soaking wet tennis ball, shooting as hard as we possibly can.
You almost killed the future of a mid-major long stick midi.
Exactly.
It's okay.
I was gonna say it was a serious threat. Tuck the ball back from the back.
And Mike, you did that. You were tucking.
I was tucking, I was clenching, and I got hit right in the calf. The last place I thought I'd get hit.
Right. The only place you're not flexed. I've never seen an ass clench that tight before.
And I got
It
no
almost-
ass too, so
it almost seemed like it accelerated off of your calf, Mike. I don't know. It's like it was moving faster off your calf than it was before.
I think
Straight
you
bone.
got to aim high, because if you miss, you get another shot.
Yeah.
But if you hit it, you're either getting the back or you're getting their head.
I played it safe for sure.
Yeah.
I didn't let it go.
Life's too short for that. All right, let's talk about some of our picks here. Mike, you got some good picks written down. What do you like?
I like Johnny Hurley. He likes, who's on fire, by the way, friend of the podcast. Brown at Yale -2.5. I definitely think Yale can cover that. I also like the under in the St. Bonaventure at Richmond game, which is 20.5. Richmond has a really, really good defense, and St. Bonnie's, as poorly as they play usually, they kind of slow you down a little bit. So I just feel like it'd be like a 15-3 type game, but that's the type of score I'm envisioning. I also like St. John's +3 at Marquette. I saw St. John's beat my Hobart Statesmen, and I just think that they can at least cover if they lose to Marquette by 3 goals.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I think St. John's is a pretty talented team. Obviously, a pretty good win against Hobart. Those don't come easy.
I think it's going to be a tight game because they're gunning for a spot in the Big East tournament, and it's going to be like those are the 2 teams you would knock out of it if you were to start it today. So I think it's going to be a 1-goal game.
Yep. And Marquette's down this year. Bobby O'Grady is their bright spot. He's a Roxbury Latin kid. But other than that, they just don't look like a typical Marquette team. A couple quick ones that I like. I like Providence +5.5 at Georgetown. Mentioned that one earlier. I think they can cover that. And then I like the under in the Cornell Penn game. It's currently at 24.5. I think Cornell's going to score a good amount of goals, but I've talked about this Penn offense. I don't think they're very productive. On top of that, Penn has a good defense, so hopefully they limit Cornell a little bit. I like the under in that. That's at 24.5.
I think the Big Ten unders are going to be good picks for the rest of the year. Just a specialty heavy conference, and you win, at least in years past, they've been tight, low scoring games. So we'll keep an eye on that. All right, step down picks. This got to be better. This has got to be better than last week. I really messed it up, guys. I'll go first. My step down pick is Rutgers +4.5 at Ohio State. It's got to be a close game. Rutgers, listen to me. Just listen. Just listen for few seconds. Guys, come on. Ohio State sucks. No, I'm kidding. Ohio State's good. But come on, Rutgers. Just make it a close game. A little backdoor cover, that wouldn't be so bad. Let them go up big and then just crawl back and get a little 12-9 loss. Or win the game. Who cares? Come on, Rutgers. That's my pick. Mike.
I'm gonna take Providence plus 5.5 at Georgetown. Big East game. Providence is a good team. Georgetown, I think, is a little overrated, and I just can't see this game being more than 3 goals spread wise.
Good pick.
Okay. Mine, I'm going Fairfield minus 2.5 at Stony Brook. I feel like I'm not the only person taking this bet this week. I feel like America has been rallying behind Fairfield. Stony Brook just lost in overtime 2 games in a row. The loss before that to Binghamton was a 10-12 game. The second to last game was double overtime too. So they're shattered. I think Fairfield's going to roll them over. I think they're going to cover. Fairfield minus 2.5.
I don't mind the pick. Mine is a little unorthodox, I suppose, but a team that has a nail gun of the week on it, so you can always trust that guy and trust his team. I'm taking VMI minus 3 against Cleveland State. I think VMI is a superior team. They have a tendency to score a lot of goals. I think they keep the train rolling and dominate this Cleveland State team.
Can I change mine or no?
No. What would you change it to?
Stony Brook plus 2.5.
I'll let it
like
fly.
that.
I'll let it
I
fly.
kind of like that because one of you guys is getting hit with a tennis ball.
One of us is
Guarantees
getting
one.
hit. Guarantees content for next week.
All right,
Sure.
good. Yeah. You want to lock
like it.
that in?
I'll lock it in. Stony Brook plus 2.5.
Okay.
Hey, good luck.
Come on, boys. Come on, Stags.
All right, that's it. Thank you guys for joining. Hey, did you have one more parting comment?
No, I was just trying to think of a way that both of you guys lose.
The game gets
There's no-
canceled. The bus driver had COVID.
As long as I win,
Yeah.
that's all I care about.
Okay, fair.
It's every man for himself in this segment.
Enjoy this weekend of lacrosse for those playing, for those coaching, for those watching. Please enjoy this beautiful game. Cheers.